See, my corner's coming along. I got this wall put in. That's just scraps I had under my bench over there. Got this wall up, y'all seen that video. Put a little shelf and hung up my stuff over here. Now what I gotta do is I gotta get some doors put up to hide this stuff. I need access to this stuff all the time, so I'm gonna build two doors, one for access to the bottom and one for access to the top. Now I could build just one door, but the hinges are only 48 inches. I realize I could put two hinges on one door, but I'm not going to need access to the top all the time. Just the bottom, because that's where the shutoffs are at. And if I do need access to the top, then, well, I could take the shelf down and get access to the top. But the bottom's where I need access the most. So we're going to make two doors. I have this stack of pallet wood, and I still have a lot of pallet wood up in the shelf. So we're going to do that. We need 91 inches overall. So it is just a coincidence that these boards are exactly 91 inches long. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I'm glad I did, because I can cut this right on the line and it gives me two 45.5 inch pieces. I cut both of these at the same time, giving me four 45.5 inch pieces. That's luck, I'm telling you, it's great. I am able to use the shorter pieces from the pallet to make my middle parts for the door. These are 9 inches long, and again I cut all four of them at the same time, giving me four pieces exactly the same size. After that I went over and I pocket holed them, and then we'll throw a little glue on them, smear it around. And because pocket holes tend to move around when you're screwing them together, we're going to put one of these fancy Kreg clamps on here and clamp it down to the table so everything stays nice and flush when I screw it together. For video purpose, it would have been nice if I'd already had this clamp set, but you know, here we are. So I'm using 1¼ inch screws here to fasten these together. I have 1¼ inch screws all the time, it seems like. So this is the pallet wood I will be using, and there are some more pallets to break down. At the table saw, I'm going to bring them down to their final width. I'm going to be using 4 different sizes because I need to use as much of this pallet wood as possible. That way I don't lose any board feet. Alright, I got it all jointed, planed, cut. I got 3.5, 3 inch, 2.5, 1.5 inch. And now we're going to put a round over on it, and we'll start slapping them on these doors. Alright, so let's round them over, and then we'll start tacking them down. In previous videos I have mentioned that this round over is not necessary. But as I was looking around my house the other day, I found out that I am actually doing a lot of furniture with this round over on it. So I must like it okay. And to be honest, I think it's looking great on these walls. As I go forward, I will be saving all of the wood that is 16 inches or longer, that is over 1.5 inches wide. That way, all my scrap wood can go up on the wall, instead of hanging out underneath my bench collecting dust all the time. As I'd mentioned earlier, that one section was done with nothing but scraps that was under my bench. After getting all the boards rounded over, I decided on 17 inches for these doors overall. So I set up a stop block pictured here, and I started squaring up all my ends. I also realized that I can cut all of the nail holes out of the boards. So there will be no nail holes in these particular doors. It'll leave a nice clean look. And all the nail holes can become firewood. This was my budget for this build for this week. No insulation, but I'm glad I got that. I'll be showing that in a video next week. So hit that subscribe button and come back and check that out. So I laid out my different sizes on the door underneath the one I'm working on now. That way all I had to do was go over to the miter saw, cut up all the boards I needed,
Then I can throw some glue on the top and get the exact same pattern on both doors. This worked out pretty well. It was pretty much just follow the dotted boards. For this, I was just using 18 gauge brad nails and some tight bond 3. Should be plenty strong enough. And for you viewers out there, I had a little bit of squeeze out, so I used a straw to get the squeeze out from inside those grooves. And it works pretty well. I do like this trick. So these doors are going in the corner. Now this might be a little controversial, but I set my blade to 45 degrees because most corners are 90 degrees. So if I split it 45 on each side, I should have a nice clean look when I hang my hinges, right? It does sound good in theory, but my design and choice of hinges will bite me in the ass here in a few minutes, and you'll see why. So keep watching. Okay, a few seconds. So here I am with this piano hinge, and it is a 1/2 inch. Well, 1 inch overall, but 1/2 inch on one side. And the boards I put on are 1/2 inch. So this is not going to give me the support on this door that I want. So guess what? Back to Lowe's. On the plus side, those wonderful people at Lowe's let me return those piano hinges that were not going to work and let me get these. And not only did I get these, I also got the latches for the door for the same price that I paid for the 2 piano hinges. What I'm doing here is putting this scrap piece of wood up against my 45-degree angle so I know exactly where to drill my holes on my doors. And then all I got to do is just sink the screws in. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. After that, I can go back over to this ugly corner and set my freshly hinged door on top of a piece of 1/4 inch paneling that I have put on the floor. That way my door does not drag my concrete floor. And then, well, hold on a minute. This is not working out. Stay put. What in the hell? And just like the doors being nice and easy, setting it on top of that 1/4 inch paneling lets me just drive 3 screws into each one of the hinges. I mean, this has got to be the easiest set of doors I have ever hung in my entire life. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. I normally hate hinges. And just like that, I have a hung door. I'll open it up and remove the plywood, or paneling, so to say. And that leaves me some really clean edges. Really like the way this is coming out. I am impressed with myself at this point. So we made 2 of them, so I guess I better hang the other one. And just like the bottom one, this one also wants to fall over. It won't stay put. I've really got to start setting up my drill before I come over to try and do this work. I'll lean it on the shelf and I'll go get my drill and a step stool, and then just like the bottom, we'll set it up, throw some screws in it, and it'll be a hung door too. Next up are the latches, and I do not have enough hands to manipulate the screw, the drill, and the latch, but I do have an idea. We'll use double-sided tape. I'll put a piece on there and I'll crease the tape where the latch is and then cut the excess off. That will leave me enough to hold the latch, and not enough that you will see it because I'm going to leave it on there after I screw the latch down. If you are not using double-sided tape in your wood shop, you are missing out significantly. This stuff is amazing. I use it for everything. And look, I don't need 3 hands to hold everything together. And I slide it over, throw the other screw in it, and I'm just going to leave the tape on there. Nobody will ever see it. So there are two ways I could do this. So I'm going to do them both. These latches come with metal brackets. Either way, I should have to drill a hole for the bracket. Well, I drilled a hole and I was going to put the bracket on there. But then I realized I didn't need a bracket on there. But I wanted to try the bracket, so I did the bracket on the bottom. I was able to bend it, which worked fine. And because I didn't like the way this top looked, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this top yet, I went ahead and threw the 3.5 inch piece up here with some brad nails, no glue, because like I said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet.
So, my corner's all done. I know they're not the same color. A little lighter, even lighter, and then dark in the corner. But, you gotta keep in mind, this is pallet wood, it's all free. This whole wall, that was scrap wood that was under my bench. So, I already had that done. All I do is cut it down and nail it up. Now I know we're not lined up pattern wise. We'll deal with that as I go forward. But now I have access to all my shutoffs and access to the pipes if it breaks. It is definitely much prettier than what it looked like before. So, even with the heater in there, there's still room for me to get to my shutoffs and everything without having to move the heater, just for quick access. So, if y'all want to try it, now you know how, and it's all free. So I'm going to get started on the rest of the stuff, and you seen that package earlier? I'll show you that next week. You have to subscribe, check that out, so you know when that video comes out. But you might like it. I know I'm going to. It's going to save me a lot of time. But yeah, get started. I'll see y'all later.